Where's Dustin?
I don't know.
He's calling.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the City Council meeting for June 18, 2018.
Ron, I have some words
Will you
for
please stand for invocation followed by a pledge of allegiance? Bobby, if you please lead us, please.
Amen.
Father God, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for continuing to watch over us and keeping us. We thank you, God, for this council and their tireless efforts that they do for this city and for our community, God, that they work so hard and put in so much time. God, continue to be with them, watch over them, give them the wisdom they need to lead us. God, we pray for all of our first responders, Father God, be with them, watch over them. Be with all of our city employees as they just came out of a meeting, a lot of them concerned about wages and how they're getting paid, and also, God, be with the council persons as they try to make those decisions. They're not easy decisions, but we know that with your leadership, they'll make the right decisions. God, we ask you to be with our mayor, be with all of our administration, be with our leaders. God, continue to be with the persons who are not present. God, be with the persons who are present in the audience that come out to find out what's going on and to share with our community. And also to know what's going on in our community so they can share with others. Be with them, watch over them. And God, we ask you to continue to protect us all, keep us all working together on one accord. And God, we ask you please bless those and continue to watch over the least, the last, and the lost. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bobby. Have a roll call, please.
Councilperson White.
Present.
Councilperson Zastavny.
Present.
Councilperson Yan.
Present.
Council President Gill.
Present.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Ellis.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect that we have 7 council members present.
Thank you. I need a motion for the approval of our minutes for our council regular proceedings for June 4th, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Approve of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Claims to be approved. General and council, so you're aware, we will have a new total. I will let Heather walk us through it.
I have 3 to remove that accidentally got on this docket. Should be redevelopment. Those are all on page 11. Let me get there. Excuse me, 2 are on page 11 that are down under the Fund 380, 6420, and the 28178, close near to the bottom. And then the other one is redevelopment is on page 12. The first claim under the Jeff Building Authority Operating Fund for $85.
And we have
I have 2 also to add. $1 million claim for the health insurance fund and $353,915.25 for travelers for the insurance, property and casualty, and workers' comp insurance.
okay, go ahead and give us the new total, and then I'll have a few comments.
$1,849,752.05.
Second claim again, 353 what?
353,915.25.
Thank you.
Okay. Are all claims in order? Because we had quite a few things that we needed to get.
We have everything in order other than we're waiting on some VIN numbers.
Okay, and then also we'll find out about the tax.
Yes.
But just so council is aware, and also for Heather to know that when going through these claims, there's quite a few issues with the claim, especially with the credit cards. With not the itemized receipt or given the receipts, there's a lot of duplicate and wrong receipts. And also, I mean, a lot of the department heads have been doing these claims, so it's nothing new. I think they're getting a little bit complacent or whatever, but anything that I can do to support you in that process, I know that your staff's getting a lot of pushback when they're only trying to do their job, and I appreciate the job that they're doing because they are going after trying to get that claims done. It's no reflection at all on your department. But anything we can do to help your department, whether I am to go to the mayor or you want me to show up at a department head meeting or give them all coming to Jesus, because I'm at the point now, and I'm sure you are too, that other than this running around and trying to, it's not working. So it's either they're going to get it right or we'll just start pulling claims. I don't know how else to get their attention, but it seems they're just going, you could probably agree, you had that same frustration on Friday, and I'm just saying that whatever we can do, anything that I can do, especially when I'm in there going through claims, when some of your department employees there are getting talked to the way that they are, and they're just doing their job, some kind of intervention, whatever we need to do to help them, because to see the frustration on their faces and your face and my face on Friday, anything we can to avoid that. Whatever you recommend moving forward, because I'm really, it's like till we're blue in the face, the same stuff. And really the only power I have is to make sure that the claim is there. That's all we ask for, is the itemized receipt, you know, and when they take out that credit card, when they turn that credit card in, turn those receipts in. I mean, when you've got pages of receipts that they're not getting in, that's just unacceptable. So whatever I can do to help you, you just let me know. But I do appreciate your staff's efforts because they have been trying to get what's needed. So it's nothing on their part. But
Thank you.
Is it the question? Is it the same employee or employees plural or just all across the board?
It's all over the place right now.
It's really getting all over the place. I do have this certain departments, which I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying that it's getting longer to go through these claims, what's required. It's not their first rodeo. They know what's required. And when you had several of them that just had a blank PO on them, it's like they know better. I know that there's some that and when you turn in an order confirmation for, you know, a multi-$1,000 receipt, you know, for a claim, and it's just an order confirmation and it doesn't back up anything on that claim, I mean, whatever they turn in that claim, even in travel, they have to show their itinerary, they have to show their scheduling, and that's not us, that's State Board of Accounts. We're guided by state statute, and when we approve these claims, by the time they get to us, or by the time they even get to the finance department, it's what I refer to, it should be a legal claim, and everything should be there to be a proper claim before it's submitted. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
So I don't mean to get on my soapbox, but anything I can do,
I've been sending out a lot of emails to the department heads about different little things, and we are going to be having another training just for a recap of things that people are kind of forgetting a little bit here and there. And a lot of this is not new. It's just felt new on their end sometimes.
We keep repeating ourselves, and then when you're getting that pushback, it's like, okay, I wish I had said that certain things will get out to where if I have to start pulling claims, I'm going to start pulling claims. Whatever we need to do. If that gets their attention, that's what we'll do, but I'll take your lead on that. I just, by the time it gets here, it has to be a legal claim. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that.
I think there are a lot of departments that are also very busy, so I think that maybe they kind of look at the administration of it all as not high priority. And I know that I'm not giving them any excuses. I'm just saying, because I agree, I don't want to be the last person to say, hey, this is, you guys need to double check. Just look over it one more time.
The department heads want their bills to be paid. Mm-hmm. I can't see what's more important, and they can't do what they do every day without having that credit card or whatever, but it's going to get to the point to where you're going to have your privileges stopped if you don't get in line here. So when you're making it more difficult than it needs to be, it just needs to be a priority. And I will get off my soapbox, and I will, if anybody else has any
claims on
questions
Civil
or comments.
City are $1,849,752.05.
I have something. So on page 7 of the 16 pages, I just want to state publicly, so there is a claim for Dale Carnegie and Associates, which is my company, so I will be at, just to make sure I'm doing this properly, I'll be abstaining from voting on that particular claim. That is in the amount of $500 for the workshop that was done at the end of April. Okay. So that's finally gone through, so I just wanted to say that for the record.
Thank you. It's very good.
Is there any other further questions or comment? Then I will entertain a motion.
So moved. With the changes. Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the adjusted amount of $1,849,752.05. All those in favor signify by say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Parks, please.
Parks is $137,413.28.
And all claims are in order now? We got it? Okay, great. I'll entertain a motion unless you have a question.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve Parks claim of $137,413.28. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate it. Report of the clerk.
Yes, I have two things. First is, after the last drainage meeting, which was 2 weeks ago, the next day I was made aware that they were having trouble with the dock cam and the projector. So I had contacted a company. They came in. They were here again last week with us looking at it. We're going to have to get a new dock cam, which is the projector. We're going to have to get a new projector, and he's also said there's some issues with the audio. Our microphones and our mixers and things are good. There is no volume control for that microphone, and he's also talked about putting a pad here so we can help adjust it, because sometimes when people talk it has the echoing. He also talked about the speakers, and the speakers probably will need to be replaced. We have worked on them. We thought we had them, but they're again in the back, and especially when that air conditioning or heating unit goes on, you cannot hear it. So we will be getting a quote from them, and then I will look at it, and then also get with another company for another quote. But is there anything you want to add on to that?
Vicki, he did say that our microphones are wonderful.
He says these are the best microphones you could have. I mean, he said this is what they use in recording studios, so it's the best.
Is there anything you need to add? Anything?
No. The other thing is I attended the clerk annual conference last week, and Monday was the clerk treasurer's training, Indiana League of Municipal Clerk Treasurers. And the first one was on TIF, and Wes Bennett, who was a clerk treasurer with the City of Plainfield, is now our DLGF commissioner. So we had this workshop with TIF, and one of the things that he said that he is also going to do is make sure that the auditors and the assessors also receive the same training we did, because it's very important that everybody is together on this TIF. And then some of the other things we had was year-end accounting, ethics, laws, and practice, special investigations. We had State Board of Accounts meetings there too. State Board of Accounts had special investigation. We discussed some new legislation, public access counselors, and the archives. So that's it.
Looking at their itinerary, they had a workshop on fraud.
Yeah, that was part of our ethics, law, and practice. Mm-hmm.
Did they speak on credit cards?
They spoke on a lot of different things, yeah.
I know, okay.
And I have any of those handouts if you all want them. They're electronic. I can download them and send them to you, or they're already downloaded. I can email them out to you all. It's a very good work thing we do. We do it twice a year. We do the annual conference where we elect our presidents and our officials. I'm the resolution person and chairman, and I'm also been reappointed to the executive and legislative boards. So.
Oh, congratulations. Thanks for that report. Also for handling I was in that drainage board meeting and we couldn't see too much from that projector, so I appreciate you handling all that. Okay, we will move on to old business, which Heather, it is for the public hearing for the 2018 OR 30 ordinance of additional appropriation, and this was just moved to this meeting because so you could get the advertising in. Nothing has changed.
No.
And just before I open up to public hearing, this is just basically moving the budget where code enforcement officers were moved from under planning and zoning department under to the building commissioner. So it's like a wash. It's just taking that budget and moving it under the building commission. So I'm going to officially open up public hearing. Is there anybody wish to speak for or against this additional appropriation? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will close public hearing, and I'll entertain a third and final, unless somebody has questions.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion and a second to pass 2018 OR 30 on the third and final. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we get to move on to the exciting part, new business. We have Matt Hall. That's the name it's under, for One Southern Indiana Economic Update. Wendy, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and now the pressure is on if this is the exciting part of the meeting. Matt will be doing most of the presentation, but just to say thank you for the partnership that we have with the City of Jeffersonville. We've been excited in the past to talk about the economic development successes of the entire region, but the City of Jeffersonville has seen some wonderful success in those accomplishments. I talk about Matt all the time. I don't really need to introduce him to you. He has been here working at One Southern Indiana for about 27, 28 years now, as he would say, since Moby Dick was a tadpole. And I'll let him tell you more about the accomplishments, and I'll close up when he's finished. Thanks.
Thanks, Wendy. And it's technically a minnow. So this is our opportunity to not only thank you for your support of our economic development efforts, but to more importantly review 2017, the year in review, and talk about some of our successes. Am I too loud? Some of our successes and what has happened in 2017, and then we'll take a cumulative look. There are lots of charts and graphs. I won't go painstakingly through each one of those, but I will hit some highlights. Please feel free to stop me and ask any questions. On page 2 of your report, these are the results for Jeffersonville in 2017, calendar year 2017. So you will see that we did five project announcements in 2017, and 4 of those were the attraction of a new business to Jeffersonville for the first time, and 1 of those was the expansion of an existing business. Those 5 projects represent 1,761 new jobs. 1,211 of those are new, by those new companies coming here, and 550 of those are expansions or new jobs to an existing business. And you will see that payroll number. Those 1,700 jobs equate to a little over $60.1 million in annual new payroll. That's an annual number. So if we think about what we would spend our paychecks on, whether it's our rent or our mortgage or our haircuts or groceries or restaurants, that's what that number is annually into our local economy. So now we'll take a cumulative look on page 3 of, and when I say cumulative, this goes back to July of 2006 when One Southern Indiana was formed. You will see that there were 156 projects announced completely, and the majority of those have been expansions of existing businesses, 118 of those. 38 of those have been new businesses to Southern Indiana for the first time. And you will see the bar graph below that, and it shows you where municipally those projects landed. You will clearly see that 84 of those have landed in the city of Jeffersonville. On page 4, the same number for the jobs. I'm very proud of this number, 13,336 new jobs in Clark and Floyd counties. And these are numbers that we pulled directly off of the state's forms that the company signed. So these are not just pie-in-the-sky numbers. These are actually numbers that the company itself signed off on. And you can see that 10,280 of those jobs have come to Jeffersonville.
Matt, I have a question.
Sure.
On those overall numbers, are those, when you say you're getting those numbers from the forms that are filed by the state, are those the forms that are being committed on the front end of the project, or are those the forms that come in to report this is how much we've actually hired?
It is what they commit to do at the beginning of the project. So they do ask for some projections on those. And some of the, now, it also does not include any that they've done in excess of those jobs, but you're...
And we see those reports when we talk
That's
about tax abatements, what the actual numbers are. Sometimes they're way ahead, and sometimes they fall a little short. So I just wondered if which source those numbers came from.
Well, and this is a great time to point out, and this is what I like about the way Indiana does incentives, is it's what we call pay-as-you-go state, so you don't realize those incentives until those jobs are created.
Right.
So if we have a company, and this happens sometimes, a company that will come to us and say, well, we want to add a line onto our production, and we'll take a look at those, and if they're below their job counts by, let's just say 50, we'll say, that's great, but you owe us 50 jobs, and then we'll start from there. So it does hold businesses accountable for what they say they're going to do. Page 5 is that annual payroll number. Again, this is a cumulative number, but it is $480 million. That's an annual number that is being injected into the local economy. And you will see $364 million of that has been dedicated to Jeffersonville, or generated in Jeffersonville, I should say. I'm going to skip to page 7. Which is the return on investment. And we measure that in two ways. We take the capital investment by these projects and divide it by the amount of dollars that we have received for economic development services. And you will see on page 7 that if we take the monies that we have received from Jeffersonville for economic development and divide that by the taxable capital that has been generated for Jeffersonville, you will see that for every dollar that was invested, there was $3,543.19 created in new capital.
Is this since 2006 or? Okay.
It is. And so, if you think about, when I say taxable capital, that's, buildings, machinery, equipment, that type of thing. On page 8, we take that same number and we divide it by that payroll number that I talked about. So if you take every dollar again that Jeffersonville has invested, that has generated $1,413.25 annually in new payroll dollars. So on the next page, you will see, and this
I feel like I need a clap.
I know.
Well,
I'm just like, wow.
Wendy likes to say economic development is a team sport, and it really is. It is. We have a great group of people in southern Indiana that really appreciate the value of a good job.
When you, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you say the city of Jeffersonville has invested, does that mean through tax abatements?
No, that means through contributions. Jeffersonville has contributed. They are a champion investor for our organization. So currently, I think that level is $30,000 a year. So we've taken every dollar that you've written to One Southern Indiana for economic development since 2006 and divided it by those two numbers.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So the next page you will see our current activity, and this is an overview of our business retention and expansion visits for 2017, and then also our projects, where they come from. Now, I think what's interesting about that blue bar chart is that you will see 97 of those projects were generated outside Clark and Floyd counties, and when you go back to what we've actually announced, the majority of those have been existing business expansions. So in other words, we spend a lot of time trying to get companies here, but our bread and butter is working with our existing companies to make sure that their expansion needs are met. And as I tell our team all the time, every time a company expands here, that's a victory in retention, because we try not to take for granted the jobs that we have here. We want to make sure we keep our companies happy, and if there are issues, we're able to get ahead of those if at all possible. And then Wendy, did you want to? And we've been doing a lot, as you know, in talent development, which could be our Achilles heel for our future. And so One Southern Indiana has taken a proactive approach called Work Hub toward developing that pipeline. I'll let Wendy highlight that.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Yes, people ask all the time, so why aren't more companies coming here? Well, the main reason that we always get, whether they come here or not, the concern is, can they fill the talent pipeline that they need to be profitable both today and in the future? And it's not just this city, it's not just this region, this is a national problem. And it's something that we are concerned about. And I'll give Matt a little bit of credit for this. we have site selectors or people who are bringing projects, looking at our area, or even some of the existing companies work with the site selector to determine their best option, and they will ask what we are doing to help with the workforce. And if we give them that deer in the headlight look and say, oh gosh, I don't know, then they're not going to come here. They've crossed us off their list, and as Councilman White knows, they're looking for a reason to cross you off their list. What we're doing instead now is trying to be proactive, and the solution to our workforce challenges, quite frankly, aren't going to come from Washington, D.C., and I doubt if they're going to come from Indianapolis. They're going to be locally generated issues or solutions to the issues that we own and understand. So we're trying to do this in multiple fronts. We're trying to work with the pipeline of talent development, and much of that is in the schools. So K through 12, we're a big partner with K through 12 throughout the Clark and Floyd County areas. And one of the projects that we worked on, we worked on the Skill Up 2 grant, and that was a grant from the Indiana Department of Workforce Development that took dollars from the state and put industrial maintenance equipment, training equipment in 10 area high schools. So all the high schools in Greater Clark participated, West Clark, Prosser, and then some schools over in Harrison County as well. There's an apprenticeship program, the IMT, the Industrial Maintenance Technician Program, and it is a combination of classroom work as well as on-the-job training. So with that equipment in the high school, it allowed the students to, before they graduated, get that classroom training that they needed before they went into the workforce. It also made them much more attractive to the employers because they've already had some of that training and that exposure. So we'd seen some success in that. 8 companies have participated, almost $100,000 in savings to those companies because of those student trainings, and 58 of them completed the basic supervising training. We are also working on other areas and other industry sectors outside of manufacturing. They were organized, they were screaming the loudest, so we worked with them first. Now we're working with the Building and Development Association of Southern Indiana and Build Your Future Indiana to create a skilled trades training center. If you think about all the costs of going into a home, housing prices are rising mostly because the labor shortage and some of the skilled trades, plumbers, electricians, roofers, drywallers, all across the board, they're having a hard time finding the labor that they need in order to keep up with the demand. We love the demand that we see in Jeffersonville, and we also know that there's going to be a further stress on that as if we don't have some issues or some ways to solve this. So we're working. We did apply up for the next round of Skill Up from the state. We were not awarded a grant for that round, but we learned a lot from that process. We're building stronger partnerships, and we're going to be coming back at the state the next time they offer an opportunity for that type of funding. It's very important to us. I think the nearest training center in this to us is in Greenwood, which is not really all that helpful to us.
Is it right off the highway?
It's right, the one right you can see right on 65. And there are some really good models in other states that we'd like to emulate to try to make sure that we're serving that portion of our population as well.
Do you think that there's a possibility to get a center like that down here?
Yes. The simple answer is yes. That's what the Skill Up 3 grant application was for, was to completely redo the center. We had a location, we had all of that worked out. They only awarded, I believe, $10 million, and our request was for $4 million, so I don't think we were as competitive in that regard. But we're trying to find ways to learn more. Maybe the allocation will get larger the next time, but we also know that we can partner to help alleviate some of those costs locally so that the ask doesn't have to be so big.
Would it be beneficial to partner with someone in Louisville, or do they have something like that in Louisville already?
I wish I knew more to answer your question. I don't think that they have anything like that because, again, the nearest one is in Greenwood, and I'm assuming that's beyond just the state borders. But what opportunities that provides, when we're going, as you know, when we're going after state grants, sometimes it's easier to just focus it on this side of the river because the state doesn't necessarily recognize the value that we have to the metro area. But if we can get it started, I think we would definitely have some interest from the Louisville employers as well.
And the Teamsters, we used to have a big presence, but Jeffco closed, but I think maybe they would have the money to help with the partnership. I don't know, but just not.
let me follow up and maybe find some introductions on that. That'd be great. Turn it back over to Matt.
Thank you. One interesting thing about the talent debate and the talent deficit that we have is it's not always bad news. Sometimes when we get a rejection, it's, I think, actually not for a bad reason. We had a company recently tell us that our wages were a little too high for them. And I thought at first I was like, what? And then I thought about it and I thought, well, if our goal is to raise the county average wage, then maybe they weren't a good fit for us to begin with. So on page 12, we talk about the new business attraction piece of the work that we do. And again, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. We work in 3 areas in economic development: new business attraction, existing business retention, and existing business expansion. So I won't read through this, but typically what we do is we maintain a database of available greenfield sites and buildings that site selectors and companies can go to. It also populates the state, so anybody that's looking in Indiana can also look in our area, because we put dogs in the hunt, if you will, for those projects. And then we spend a lot of time hosting companies and site selectors in our area, showing them around. We've got some events that where we're going to host some folks from out of town to make them aware of where Southern Indiana is. I spend a lot of time on the road meeting with companies and site selectors and trying to explain. The first thing I have to do is explain where we are. And I was in Chicago last year, and I started to explain where we were, and the site selector said, "Is that where River Ridge is?" I said, "Yes." So we finally made it. But making sure that we keep top of mind type of message. On page 13, that's a list of the domestic and international marketing that we do. I won't read through that list. I can tell you I was in Europe in April, at the end of April of this year. We went to Hannover Messe and the ILA Berlin Air Show, and Hannover Messe is the largest trade show in the world, and we went and we did, between the 2 shows, we had 69 meetings, and these are with companies from all over the world where we're trying to, again, explain where we are on the map and that they should bring their business to Southern Indiana. On page 14, it's our business retention and expansion work overview, and we've had a lot of success going in and meeting with businesses and finding out, what are your issues, what are your challenges, do you have any plans to expand or grow? And from those conversations, we've been able to secure some of those expansions and help those companies not only stay here, but grow as well. And then I'll let Wendy talk about advocacy.
Sorry, I thought it was done. Page 15 talks about our advocacy work. Now, we have been pretty diligent about putting together an advocacy agenda every year. I usually bring it in and hand it out to you all. It's mostly as 5 categories, and I'll try to do them off the top of my head. The first would be workforce readiness. Anything that we can advocate for that's going to increase our competitiveness and workforce readiness. Business taxes, cost of doing business, that's something that we're always concerned about. We're interested in transportation and logistics. What are the road systems like, and how can we help there? We are also interested in regional collaborations. We know that nobody's an island. We know that we all have to figure out how to work along and get along to create an economic environment for a region that was helping with the workforce piece of it, as well as helping businesses grow with each other. And then finally is access, and that we try to host several events every year. We've had at the congressional and U.S. Senator level. We've had most recently, I think the Lieutenant Governor came down and did a luncheon, and we would like to get back into doing more of the local elected officials events as well. And Clerk Vicki, I look forward to hopefully seeing you in some of the roles that you're playing at the state level. I am currently chairing the Indiana Economic Development Association, and after serving as the legislative chair for the past 3 years. So we are working on those statewide issues that we can talk in terms of economic development needs. And every community across Indiana is not the same. We've got a lot of deal flow, a lot of activity in our area. Some of the rural counties don't see nearly the activity that we do, and we have to find a way to make sure that while we help our neighbors, that we're not hurting ourselves. So we're engaging in those conversations in a very, very real and very deliberate way. Southern Indiana's voice is getting heard at the State Capitol building, and we're going to continue to try to make that happen as we move forward. I think with that, we're done. We'll entertain any questions or comments.
I got a quick one.
Yes.
We talk a lot about the workforce and, how can we address it? We've even brought it up at One Southern Indiana. I had a conversation with the manager at McDonald's just last week, and it's not just Mr. P. It's not just all of the ones from River Ridge and on Port Road that have contacted me because I go up there and how's everything going? But it's our McDonald's, it's our Burger Kings, they can't find the workforce. And when you go up there, and I don't discriminate. For those that have master's degrees, more power, get all the education you can need. But I would like to go and not have McDonald's lines closed when you're going through there to get something. And it's become more a problem when businesses are having to shut down or shut down early. Is that something that we need to really, I know what side of the state legislators are putting it on their platforms, but I hear a lot of talk about it, but I don't know if we need to do seminars or work programs or trainings or incentives, whatever it is. You can bring the jobs, but we got to fill them.
Two issues are at play. Clark County's unemployment rate as of last week was 2.9%. Sorry, it was 2.8%. Floyd County's was 2.7%. Now, when I was in college, and my kiddo would say, well, that was back in the 1900s. Well, yeah, it was. But when I was in college, they told us that the unemployment rate textbook would never go below 4%.
Yeah.
They were wrong.
6% is the national,
That's right.
So we're in things that we haven't seen before. The other thing I think it's of note is the labor force participation rate. And I don't know what this is locally or what the trend is, but nationally, the labor force participation rate has been on a decline since the year 2000. So if you look at people ages 18 to 64 that are engaged in the workforce, it's dropped from about 67, almost 68% down to about 63%. So nearly a 5-point drop since the year 2000. Well, why do people not work? If they're between the ages of 18 to 64, you can think about it. They're in school, they're caregivers to their older generations or younger. They could be incarcerated. They could be unable to work for physical reasons. They could be able to work for mental or addiction issues. They could be unmotivated because mom lets them sit at home and play video games all day. I mean, it's across the board. And nationally, I think we've got a concern on our hands if we don't find whatever it is to increase that motivation. That's one of the reasons that we are partnering with Greater Clark County Schools on the Forward Next Generation Learning Initiative. It does introduce students at a younger age into workforce careers and pathways so that they're more interested in what they're learning about, and we will continue that academy model that goes into full effect this next school year. And so we'll be excited to see hopefully a change in the expectation of the students of themselves when they graduate. The graduation rates are at a good level. They're not perfect because they're not 100%, but they're over 94, 93%. We're in an area now where we're just trying to find that motivation piece. And if you think about the nature of that work, it's so individualized. Because what motivates you and you and you and you and you are all very different for, it says don't touch it, I just touch it, are all very different for...
You broke your excellent microphone.
It's all very different to find that motivation for students.
It's really interesting, and I think last year the study came out and said there are 31,000 unfilled jobs in this region, and I think around 5 million nationally.
Mm-hmm.
But, and to go in line with that, I remember going to the McDonald's over in New Albany, we're closed because of no staff. Mm-hmm. But I see on Facebook all the time people looking for jobs, people offering jobs from head 100 firms to place, and people looking. What I found interesting from the people looking, they would say, I'm looking for work, full-time work, don't say Ford, don't say Amazon. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? So I don't know what...
Everybody wants a job, nobody wants to work. that's how we feel when we're looking for employees.
If you could get on at Ford, I mean, that's a career.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I don't know how that happened.
I think there's no surprise, and I know that Wendy and her team know this, that there is a stigma associated with career paths that, especially with younger generations that don't require a college degree. And I know her team is working very hard to address that stigma and to say that, even, and it goes even to our middle school counselors and high school counselors, and promoting paths that are not the, okay, go to college for 4 years, which, by the way, when you're in college for 4 years and you're not working, it's exactly why we have jobs like McDonald's that can't find enough employees, right? Because college students aren't necessarily working. But the more that we can promote that as I work through college, I'm not done with, but, the more that we can promote the success and the vibrance of jobs, especially in skilled manufacturing and in those areas, the better we will be. And I know that Ivy Tech is working to address this issue, One Southern Indiana is, but I think that's our biggest bottleneck, is really just the stigma that surrounds some of those occupations.
Thank you for that. And the only thing I'll add is that it's that we are working with our partners on that, and we are trying to build a culture change that starts with the individual, and it's hard. It's been accepted not to work in some areas. We just have to keep gnawing away at that and figure out what it's going to take to pull that into almost a self-reliance. So we create a society of producers and not just consumers.
If I were to ask you what is a livable wage in our area, how would you respond?
Tread carefully.
So I will answer this based on me and my household, which is one adult and one child. Now, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology calculates livable wage for all counties in the country, and for both Clark and Floyd, and they probably do it around the metro areas. The livable wage for one adult, one child is $21.10 an hour. $21.10. MIT, livable wage, if you look it up. And I know that because I've tried to figure out what's the county average wage in Clark County. About $18.47. So we're already not at that livable wage for my household. Now, other people's households, 2 adults, 1 child, it's a whole different number. But what the concern is, or what the definition is livable wage. That is the amount it takes in this community for 1 adult, 1 child to live without any type of public assistance or nonprofit assistance.
Thank you.
So, I don't know if you knew I would have an answer or not.
I believe that you got your answer tonight.
We've had this conversation already once today.
And that bodes well, that MIT number bodes well for our investment in the nonprofits.
You're walking into a very political conversation that isn't related to advocacy, so you might want to take a step back for a minute.
So I had 3 questions, and you answered 2.5 of them already. The first one was, what's the unemployment rate for the county now? We said that was 2.8% now. And then I was going to ask about average county wage, which is $18.47, you said?
And I'm doing that by memory. I can
Okay.
I can follow up tomorrow if it's not correct. And it's a year lag. So it's a year, that would be a 2016 number, not a 2017 number.
But that's still an increase from where we were. Our average wage has continued to be on the upswing over at least the last 5 years. I know that we've been talking about it. Right?
Yes, it's on the way up, and I believe, I know both Clark and Floyd counties had, since I've been back in 2012, we've saw the biggest jump in the numbers that were reported this January based on 2016 than we had seen. So I want to say in Clark County it was about 80 cents an increase.
Okay. And then the last question partially was answered, I think. Participation rate, we don't have a number for that locally, but nationally, you said that continues to decline. So we haven't seen any kind of uptick in participation rate at all since the recession. Is that correct?
The number for local may exist. I just don't know what it is, if it does. But the chart that I usually look at is a national number, and it bounced back a little bit after the recession, but it did not maintain its number.
Okay.
It still has dropped since the recession.
It's still stagnant. At best, it's stagnant. Okay.
For, I'll just say clearly the city of Jeffersonville, these numbers make us look good, right? And we know that that a lot of that is the work that you all do and just the wonderful parts of our community. What I'm interested in is, what would you say, what are the things that you're hearing that are potentially unique to Jeffersonville? Why are people committing to Jeffersonville? What is the what is really attracting them to this area? I know it's a big question, but...
Well, it depends on the needs of the project, but I would say overall, just as a general statement, Jeffersonville is very pro-business, and I think that message comes across strong. Businesses feel wanted here. They know this community wants the jobs. I think we demonstrate a strong work ethic for those people who are working. We do demonstrate a strong work ethic. The community itself shows very well. I can tell you we hosted a group of site selectors in March, and actually it was a year ago, March, and we drove them around, and we had a lot to cover in a few short days, and one of the places I wanted them to see was downtown Jeffersonville, and they took it off the list initially, but one of the site consultants was actually coming in the day before because he had a project he wanted to talk about, so I took him to eat in downtown Jeffersonville. He totally changed his mind. He said they have to see this because this speaks to the spirit of the community, and this is a community that is reinvesting in itself, and that's where my clients want to be. So I would say, and then the real estate. We've got River Ridge Commerce Center, and we have some other business parks that I think show very well and are becoming destination locations for companies.
Thank you.
I don't want to not end on a high note, but there's still work to be done, as you all know. The 10th Street corridor, I've been very pleased to be part of that planning group because that's one of the areas that doesn't show as well. Right now, it's under construction, so if people like to see construction, and when they're looking at our business, they see it's investment that the public is making. But what we've had to do is think through what are those routes that we drive folks in on, and if they're smart, they're going to drive it themselves. They're not just going to sit in my back seat and take my word for it. They're going to get out and drive it themselves. But at least we know that you all know are working on some of those areas in the city limits that probably need the most attention. And I appreciate that as a resident, so thank you.
And let's not forget, quality of place helps with the workforce. People want to live in the communities they work in, so that helps.
So these numbers show that in the past 12 years, there's been $1 trillion of investment in this area?
Billions, over a billion.
Billion.
Oh, it's a billion?
It's billion.
Still good.
Yeah, it's excellent. I said I do outrageous things, Well, the last thing I have to
Always trying to get more money.
The last thing I have is, did I hear that you went on a marketing trip to Berlin? Mm-hmm. Can I get an invitation?
It sounds a lot more fun than it is, actually. Like I said, we had 69 meetings in 6 days.
Go.
But you're in Europe.
That's true.
But you don't
I'd
see
much
any of
rather
it.
be looking out the window at Berlin but it was a good visit, and we met with lots of companies that do an amazing amount of things. And one of the reasons that we went to Berlin, it was my first time going. They call it an air show, but it's for aerospace and aeronautical type companies, and I think we would be a good fit for that.
Yeah,
Indiana is a good fit for it, but I think we would especially be a good fit for it because we have an airport here, we have great logistics here, and we have the ability to get things on and off a barge and to an aircraft and that kind of thing. So that was my intention, was to sell. Even though we went as a region, we were selling the region, but I was selling Southern Indiana.
Well, thank you both for everything. Our investment for $30,000 sure paid off for what report you just gave. And please extend our thanks back to the team. Like you said, it's a team effort, and I enjoy seeing that team in action. And you do work well with the local and officials. I know I see you guys up there in redevelopment all the time and talking with the mayor, so I appreciate that.
Is your annual business
Thank you
meeting
for your
coming up?
support.
Is that August that you all do?
I'm sorry?
Is your annual business meeting in August?
Yes, it's a Tuesday. I want to say it's the 14th. August 14th is our annual business meeting. It's taking place. We've outgrown most of the venues in Clark and Floyd County, so we're taking it out to the Horseshoe Casino at Harrison County. If you choose to come back after the luncheon, that's on you, not on us. But we are excited. We're working on some keynote speakers to talk about the internal operations of keeping your employees happy, and much of it's done through engagement with the community.
All right, thank you very much. Next on our agenda, which I told Mr. Merkley that I would handle this. It's the notice of collection of tax increment in Jeffersonville, and we just need to accept this into record. My question is, Larry, do I need to read this?
Yes.
Okay. It's from the Jeffersonville Redevelopment Commission, June 1st, 2018, or the collection of tax increment in Jeffersonville, Indiana, allocation area for 2018, taxes payable 2019, for the Intercity Road, the Gateway, the Falls Landing, the Beth Nova, Keystone, Voight Valve, and Galvester TIFs. In accordance with IC 36-7-14-39B4B, the Act, the Jeffersonville Redevelopment Commission, the Commission is hereby notifying you of the following determination that it has made concerning the area listed above for 2018 taxes payable 2019. The Commission has determined that there is no excess assessed value that may be allocated to the overlapping taxing units in the manner prescribed in Subdivision 1 of the Act, and it is signed by Monty Snelling, the President of the Jeffersonville, Indiana Redevelopment Commission. So can I have a motion to accept this into record?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We move on. We have the notice of collection of tax increment in Jeffersonville for River Ridge Commerce Center. It is the capture of the incremental assessed value for River Ridge Development Authority. Dear Ms. Conlon, in accordance with the provisions of IC 36-7-30-25, the River Ridge Development Authority has determined there is no excess assessed value that may be allocated to the respective taxing units in the manner prescribed in Subdivision 1 of IC 36-7-14-39. All funds being collected are required to fund infrastructure improvements necessary to facilitate redevelopment inside the Indiana Army Ammunition Plant Reuse Authority allocation area. Over the next several years, the total cost of on-site improvements is projected to exceed $300 million. These improvements include construction of new roadways, new utility facilities, and associated demolition site preparation. If you have any questions or need additional information, please do not hesitate to call. Sincerely, Jerry Acey, which is Executive Director of River Ridge Development Authority. Do I have a motion to accept this into record?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Larry, do you have an attorney comment tonight?
I have an attorney, but he's not here with me, but
I said, do you have an attorney comment?
Mr.
Hey,
Samuel,
that was long-winded, them two.
Mr. Samuel informed me that I said more words than I'm allowed to say earlier today, so I have nothing.
Okay, cool.
He doesn't deny it, so.
Well, we'll move on to department heads, and as you noted on here, Paul had on for the visiting park. It was in regards to our little outing that we took up there, and for whatever reason, he wants it to move to our next meeting, and I said that'll be fine, but we do have Andy Crouch. I did send an email out concerning why he is here, but I will turn it over to you, Andy. Welcome.
Great, thank you. I give a couple of updates on a few projects before we get into that, if you don't mind. I know there was an additional appropriation, I think was approved maybe about a month ago for some excess funds that we had. Some of that money was put into my budget for projects. The turning and deceleration lanes for the auto auction along 10th Street, we've got those all designed, quoted out, and I have a contract in hand. It's not signed, it will be this week. We'll get that started in the next few weeks, won't take too long.
Man, you're fast.
We try. The New Chapel Sidewalk project, I believe you fully funded that, or at least to the budgeted amount. Plans on that are out for bid right now. Those will be out for a couple of weeks, and then we'll receive bids and usually take those under advisement, get the contract approved, and then get a notice to proceed. It may be the 1st of August or so before you start seeing any work out there, but it's well underway. The Plank Road Sidewalk, we've got a design contract that's been executed. That's underway for survey and design. Moving along.
Good job, Andy.
Okay, so we're...
That on top of everything else that's going on.
I know. For my other issue, and the real reason I'm here tonight, I couldn't have had Wendy and Matt here on any better time than this evening. We lost our head electrician back in January. He retired. Jeff, I think many of you knew Jeff Johnson. He retired. We promoted Jeff's assistant, I'm going to call him technician, because that's how it's listed in our salary ordinance. As a technician, we promoted him to Jeff's position, which left the technician position open. We advertised for that position starting in, I want to say February. We had a very hard time getting candidates. I even had I even had the electrical inspector in the building commissioner's office looking for people when he was out, and he kept coming back going, Andy, there's nobody looking for a job. So we did finally get a couple of good qualified candidates, one of them very well qualified, but when I talked to him about a job offer and where we fell in the price range, he said, Andy, I can't for that. He was already making more than the 50% mark in our pay range. He said he would consider the 50% mark though. So the technician, before we promoted him, was making $19.28 an hour. The 25% mark in that pay range is $19.35 an hour. The 50% mark in that pay range is $21.50 an hour, and that's what I'm asking for approval for to offer to this person.
Which you have in your budget.
We have it in the budget.
What's the position?
It is electrical technician.
What pay grade?
Systems electrical. It is a... Becky? Becky? I want to say 4 too. I don't have that in my email. I don't have it in front of me.
I don't actually. I don't know.
Do you have the pay ranges in front of you, Matt? Whichever one starts at 9.
I have the new ones that we've proposed.
Oh, okay.
If what we've proposed would mitigate your issue, so we could go ahead and push.
Oh, I
this
see.
I was just trying to see what pay range.
I was just making a point. I'm in favor of your
For the
request.
the ones that you have not, the pay grades that we're working off of is
Right.
the one that starts at
I make a
1928.
motion to approve his request.
Five.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Andy, you have the go-ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So under the new proposal,
We just didn't, and I supported it, I voted for it, but we didn't go by our ordinance.
He did come to me. I did go to Kim. And
Your recommendation?
I sent out an email said I was in full support.
she did.
Oh, yeah.
Matt, are you going to make a comment about the new pay ranges?
Yeah.
I just wanna make-
So that 35% under the new range would have been 21.25 that he could have offered, which I don't think is where he needed to be, but again, would have offered a little bit more flexibility.
We did not have any public comment, so I will move right on to council comments and Councilperson White. And thank you for your district for giving a good impression they decided to, in her report where they said they weren't going to come, and then when the site guy came out and saw it, said, oh yeah, they need to come here and take a look at our downtown, so.
It's a reflection on all the good work we do.
Mhm.
I have no comment.
Councilperson Vestani.
Yeah, there was an email that went out about a resolution for support of a professional team in Louisville. Is that going to come to the council at some point?
I replied to that email, and I'm just kind of waiting to take the lead from administration.
Okay, so you're waiting for...
And he's on vacation, so it was on my list to discuss with him when he gets back. So as soon as I find out anything, I'll let you all know. But we were asked by the action of the council to be, I guess, basically to send a letter of support.
Right.
And
I have a strong feeling on an opinion on that, and that's all. I'm looking forward to having that debate and hopefully supporting what they propose, so that's all.
Councilperson Young,
No comment.
welcome back.
Happy to be back.
Councilperson Owen.
No comment.
Okay, Councilperson Ellis.
No comment.
Councilperson Samuel.
I just appreciate Matt Hall talking about our public art and Jeff.
Yes.
That's all.
Hey, I wanted to remind everybody, we do have an executive session before our next meeting. The time, was it 6? Larry, what time is it? 6? Okay, and then, pardon?
What you asked for.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. I just wanted to give everybody that reminder. And also, I was talking with Heather. She came back fresh from the workshops and all, and going through her workshops, I guess we're talking with State Board of Accounts and DLGF and all that they would like us to see us kind of move our budget process up a little bit, because I think that they're wanting to get the stuff in earlier so they can get it reviewed. And what Heather's proposing, and I kind of agree with her, that We can move our budget workshops up to the last week of August and the first week of September. I'm going to kind of put that in your all's ear because that's fast approaching. And if we could have the public hearing on September 17th, that would allow us to have our public hearing and our adoption then on October the 1st, which will give plenty of time and syncing with the calendars. I think that'll work well if everybody's in agreement with that. But I told her I would bring that up and mention that, which our budget workshops last week of August, first week of September. It's going to be here in a blink of an eye.
Have we decided, we've done budgets a couple different ways now. Have we decided which approach we're going with? Are we going to schedule budget meetings with each department head, or are we going to have one document that we review?
I know what I would like to do, but it's be the collective with everybody. I would like a chance to talk to some of the department heads. As you all remember, last year we had to do a workshop where we had street departments, some things that were left out, and didn't get a chance to hear why, especially if they're asking for increases, to hear from them to just increase. I think it helps us. What?
Nothing. She's calling me out for smirking over here.
I know y'all don't like the budget workshops, but I think it's necessary to move the process along.
Well, I'm not interested in having a debate tonight, but I just wanted to bring it up. But I.
Let me know your all's thoughts on that.
Yes, okay.
Because like I said, I'm just one person and let's do that.
You're more than just one
can-
person, Lisa, you know.
I hope we can get a proposed budget from the administration before we decide to schedule those meetings at least. I'd like to.
Well, we can't do anything without that proposed budget. It basically what it is from here from the department heads is they come with the budget that they've already went through the process with you and the administration. Sorry. Correct? Right. That's what we go by, so does that answer your question? Okay. And since we didn't get to it tonight, we still have, we can do it by email, but I think it was referred to as workshop. We need to address the HSA and the retirement piece to all of that. Do you all want to look at your calendars now and schedule that, or do you want to schedule that at the next meeting? Because we do already have an executive session. I know it's been a long night, so I'm fine with scheduling that workshop after our next meeting, or we can do it tonight, whatever y'all want to do.
Next meeting's fine.
Okay? That's all I have, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting is adjourned.